Yeah, I'm a bit late to this one, aren't I?
Ladies, gentlemen, and all ADMs out there, welcome to my review on Shovel Knight. Now, funny story about this game. I originally bought it in 2015 when I first got my PS4 because I saw the Game Grumps play it and I thought I wanted to give it a go. Unfortunately, I was a dumb child and I wasn't too good at video games, so I couldn't even get past Spectre Knight's stage. But that changes today because I'm now a dumb man. So let's get into this game, and what better way to start than with the story.
Our story starts with our two main characters, Shovel Knight and Shield Knight, travelling through the land and going on adventures. When one day they stumbled across the Tower of Fate and were separated when a cursed amulet wrought a terrible magic, sealing the tower and taking Shield Knight with it. With his spirit broken and his companion gone, Shovel Knight went into a life of solitude, never to adventure again. Until one day the Tower of Fate is unsealed and a new adventure to save Shield Knight begins. But who is this masked knight we play as? Well, it's none other than the legendary hero and the man who has saved so many people, Troupple!
The story is really good at introducing us to the main heroes, the main villains, and even the world as a whole, and I'm really interested to see where it goes in the future.
And bam, we're immediately thrown into the first level.
Now I know what you're wondering. What kind of a game is Shovel Knight? Well, it's kind of a mix of a bunch if you think about it.
It has a Mario 3 world map, a Mega Man-esque level structure with certain levels giving you a relic that assists you through the level, and a boss who's weak to the relic 90% of the time, a DuckTales-esque bounce attack, and a system where if you die you drop some of the gold you've collected throughout the level and have to get it back, kinda like Dark Souls in a way. It's really cool as it's sort of a love letter to all of gaming at its heart. The first level is meant to introduce you to the game's mechanics and level structure, which is nice, but because of that it ends up being a bit bland to me. But it's the first level in the game, so I can look past it just this once. Most of my time in this level was just spent refiguring out the controls and movement of Shovel Knight, but other than that I got through it just fine. At the end of this stage we come face to face with Black Knight. No, not that one. He calls us a smelly little bum and tells us to turn back and walk away, which we refuse to, and thus a fight begins. For a first boss, he's actually pretty tough, and he actually managed to beat me on the first go around. But I came back the second time and ended up beating him. After that, he runs off and we fall asleep at a campfire and have a dream about Shield Knight falling and us having to catch her. After this, more of the world map opens up and I decide to go to the village. These villages are safe zones in between the main levels, and they're also where you can upgrade certain aspects of Shovel Knight. In this one, you can upgrade his health and his max magic, but it gets more expensive the more you do it. I didn't do much here besides buying a chalice and a chaos sphere and upgrading my max health. Before I went to the next level, I went to the Troupple pond to use my chalice. You get 3 choices of Ichor here. The Ichor of Renewal that refills both your health and magic, the Ichor of Boldness that lets you become invincible for 10 seconds, and the Ichor of Fortune that lets you absorb all treasure around you for 60 seconds. I decided to choose the Ichor of Renewal because I thought it was the best option to me at that moment, and I was actually treated to a musical number where the Troupple King and his disciples dance, which was pretty neat.
On to the next level now, the Lich Yard, the lair of Spectre Knight, and this was actually the level I gave up on as a child, so I thought I'd do it now to get it out of the way.
The first part of this stage isn't too difficult. The only things you have to look out for are these frogs that occasionally are covered by electricity, making them invulnerable, these red skeletons who are faster versions of the skeletons in the first level, these ghosts, and this super skeleton, yes, that's its actual name. And it's not too hard. I only died here because I wasn't paying attention to my health. The second part of this stage has this lightning mechanic where you can only see when the lightning strikes, and I found it annoying, which should be for obvious reasons, but let me spell it out for you if you can't see. You can't see. And it's one of the main reasons I stopped playing this game as a kid. It was that frustrating to me. Especially when the game asks you to platform over bottomless pits when you can't see and there's a ghost chasing you. There's also these sinking platforms that can only move when 2 things are on them, and they're fine, except for this one where there's a Tadpole and a Bone-Clang Helmeteer, what are these fucking names, on them at the same time, whilst there are spikes on the ceilings that insta-kill you if you touch them. It is tense. I also bought the Phase Locket from Chester, who is hidden throughout each level, and he sells you relics that you can use as power-ups within said level. The Phase Locket allows me to become invulnerable for a couple seconds, so that's already one equal made irrelevant. Here we are at the boss of this level, Spectre Knight, who just so happens to be one of my favourite members of the Order of No Quarter. He throws his scythe around and slashes you to attack you, and after half of his health is gone, he summons these green skeletons to attack you and activates the same lightning effect that makes you unable to see whilst the enemies attack you. It's really tough, but I managed to get through it on my first try no less. We get through that and sleep next to a campfire once again. And thus, Shovel Knight succumbed to his wounds, and his adventure was over.
Nah, I'm just kidding. On to the next level now, Pridemoor Keep, the lair of King Knight.
This level is actually really simple, the only things of note being these swinging and falling platforms, and these cauldrons of lava spilling wild lava on top of you. It's really not that bad. Didn't stop me from dying like an idiot, but it's still pretty easy. It makes you think if this level was intended to be the first one you do, and if it is, then why is the Redlock the first one in line on the world map? I also got the Flare Wand from Chester in this level, which is a basic shoot straightforward projectile, nothing too special really. Never mind, there actually is something else to mention. There's a mini-boss against this thing called a Griffith, and it's not too tough. All you need to do is pay attention to the fireballs that move in a wave.
Oh god. Not again.
He went down pretty easily. And here he is, King Knight himself, and he's easy as piss. All he does is slam the ground, slash at you, and cause confetti to rain down to damage you, and that is it. Yeah, this was definitely intended as the first level. After that, we fall asleep and have another dream about Shield Knight falling and us having to catch her. But this time there's enemies that we need to avoid or kill to clear the way, which I managed to do. After that, I wake up and open this chest to get a meal ticket, which we can give to the gastronomer to upgrade our max health. We also break the second lock on the world map and reveal the next section of it and move on.
I think now is a good point to give my overall thoughts so far on the world and this first section of the game, and I think it's good. I'm really liking the music and the art style, and I hope it gets better and better the more we get into it.
On to the next level now, Iron Whale, the Lair of Treasure Knight. This level's main mechanic is the water physics that increase your jump height, which doesn't sound bad on the surface. Then you realise this level loves to put spikes on the ceilings of damn near every room, which insta-kill you by the way, so you have to make sure you've held the jump button for the right amount to make the jump, but not so much that you don't skewer yourself, which trust me, will happen! There's also a mini-boss against this anglerfish that has one of Chester's chests on him, and we have to get it off, to which Chester rewards us by selling us the throwing anchor. It's an anchor, get this, that you throw. Yeah, I don't get it either. And here we are, face to face with Treasure Knight himself. And he is tricky, but not too tough. He shoots out his grappling hook and moves from wall to wall and sometimes the ceiling to attack you. He also shoots down to cause a mini shockwave or slams down to cause a huge shockwave. You can also throw this treasure chest out that sucks you in and shoot these projectiles that damage you so you have to dodge them. And if you can deal with that, you should be fine. Overall, an annoying level alongside a tricky boss. After this, we gain access to the next village, or more specifically the Armor Outpost. Here, you can upgrade your shovel to give it new perks, like a charge shot that lets you hold down the attack button unleashing devastating damage, a Master Sword-esque full health projectile, or the ability to dig up buried treasure in one swipe. You can also upgrade your armor to make it have different abilities, such as dropping half as much gold when you die, negating knockback from enemies but making the floor slippery, or being gold. I chose the half all gold one for now, but don't worry, we will get a much better set of armor later.
And now we're on to the Explodatorium, the lair of Plague Knight.
This level has a lot of things you need to watch out for. First of all are these flames that shoot up whenever you step on them, so you better have a predetermined plan to avoid them while you're getting hit. Secondly are these barrels that shoot up periodically that you have to time your jumps on and off of, but some of them have spikes on top and shoot at alternating times, so you need to be careful of them. And lastly, these other flames that shoot out in a pattern, so it's less about planning the right path and more so waiting for the right time to cross.
Also, is it me, or is this music really familiar?
And here we are at the boss Plague Knight. He is tricky, mostly because he's teleporting all over the place, but also because he throws so many projectiles at you, and summons exploding vats filled with purple liquid to damage you, but it was nothing I couldn't manage. After this, I saw that 2 characters were moving around on the map, so I decided to check it out.
Turns out these are the Wandering Travelers, a group of characters designed by a few Kickstarter backers who donated $1,000 or more.
This character, Reize, was designed by Danny D. Henderson Jr., and it's the first one I fought. He says something about how we've been terrorizing the village, but before we can defend ourselves, he attacks us. This boss, while simple, is pretty fun. Reize's choice of weapon is these boomerang blades that constantly bounce around the screen until they come back to him. You could also summon fire and have it spin around him, making him even harder to hit, but I managed to defeat him. Although I got close, holy moly. I then decided to take on the next Wandering Traveler, Baz, who was designed by Matt and Wooly of best friend Zaibatsu, who are YouTubers. This boss is fun. He swings around with his rope and occasionally slams down and whips you Simon Belmont style, and after you get his health halfway down, he starts shooting electricity out that you have to avoid. Pretty good boss if you ask me.
On to the last level of this world now, the Lost City, the Lair of Mole Knight.
This level's not too bad. The only things you have to look out for are these patches of lava dripping from the ceiling, this mini-boss that acts almost identical to the Griffith in King Knight stage, and these flaming fish that jump out of lava at you. I also brought the Dust Knuckles from Chester here, that let you punch through sand consecutively in a straight line, which I could see being useful in the future. Once you've gotten through that, you're onto Mole Knight himself, who is tricky but rewarding to figure out. He starts by digging into the walls, then shooting across the arena to the other one, after which he slides across the floor shooting projectiles at you. Then he summons sand blocks that you have to dig through to avoid. The Dust Knuckles are really good here. Then he digs into the ground and 4 piles of dirt show up. If you find the one he's in, you can dig him up, dealing damage in the process. He then shoots lava out of his body to become invulnerable and shoots flame towards you, some of which you can hit back at him. Then he traps you in a cage of sand and dives in and out of the walls to attack you, so you need to get out quickly to deal some damage. And once you've finally dealt with all of that and dealt enough damage, you win. So yeah, a really tricky boss, but a really rewarding one once you've got it down. After this, we get another dream sequence of Shield Knight falling and us having to catch her, as even more enemies are trying to beat us. But I managed to catch her. After this, I decided to check out the Hall of Champions, and it turns out it's a mini-level mixed with an homage to the Kickstarter backers. You have to defeat all these ghosts with this glowing orb to light up the room, revealing the faces of said Kickstarter backers, like Aaron Hansen of Game Grumps. Once you've defeated all of the ghosts and lit up all of the rooms, one giant boss ghost shows up, and the only way you can damage it is with the orb, so it's pretty tricky. I also found this map with an Omega symbol on it. Wonder where it leads. After this, a mysterious cloaked figure showed up on the map, so I went to check out who it was.
Athena? That's weird. Athena's a god, right? So far there's been no mentions of any gods in this game. I wonder why this guy's saying that. No way!
No fucking way. KRATOS? KRATOS is in this game, and as a boss no less! In his first phase, yes, he has multiple, he swings his blades of chaos at you and spins around to attack you, occasionally grappling onto the pillars on either side of the screen or punching them. Once you got his first health bar down, yes, he has multiple, lightning strikes as he powers up and starts hurling chunks of said pillars at you, which you need to dodge. He can also hit you up and launch you into the pillar, which is so cool to see. Once you've gotten his health all the way down again, he smashes the floor and you have to fight him on slowly falling blocks. All KRATOS does here is grapple from platform to platform, and every so often attack you, so it's more of a platforming boss than an actual boss.
This boss fight is really cool, but it does have one problem.
When you die and go to fight him again from the world map, it starts from the 3rd phase, which I understand, but if you're gonna have KRATOS as a secret boss in this game, it needs to be difficult, so that when I die I should feel like I have to do the entire thing again from the beginning. You know, like every other boss in the game.
Other than that, this boss fight is so cool and it reminds me that I need to play God of War at some point.
After you've beaten KRATOS, he rewards you with the Gravedigger's Shovel that you can bring to the smithy to get the Armor of Chaos. A suit of armor that lets you do a 3-hit combo, dig up buried treasure when you do a downwards attack on it, and most importantly, it looks so cool! So it should be to no one's surprise that I wore this armor for the rest of my playthrough. Once we move on, we see a cutscene of Black Knight. Not that one either. He's talking to the Enchantress and he says that her safety is his only concern, to which we overhear and a fight ensues. Black Knight is stronger here and has more tricks up his sleeve, like this jump back move that he didn't do before, shooting multiple projectiles at a time, and this time when you hit them back, he can do the same, which caught me off guard the first time he did it, but I beat him nonetheless.
Right, next few stages down and I'm feeling pretty good. This game is really fun. I can't believe I didn't play it sooner. I just want to get right back into it, so that is what we're gonna do.
I decided to go back to the Armor Outpost, because in all my time of playing so far, I somehow failed to realise that this place with a sign was actually a building I could go into.
Yeah, I know, I'm not the brightest, am I?
And it's here we meet Mr. Hat, one of the other wandering travellers. This one created by Alexander Hatman Hatzikides. I definitely butchered that. Mr. Hat then compliments our helmet and says he wants it to himself, to which a fight ensues. This fight is really cool because it's got a good visual indicator of what attacks he's going to do. the indicator being the hats he wears that change colour depending on what attacks he's doing. Other than that, it's pretty simple.
On to the next level now, Stranded Ship, the lair of Polar Night. And it has ice physics. Yay. I, like many other people, don't like ice physics in games.
To me it's just annoying, and a way to make an already decent level infuriating. Most of my deaths here were due to me landing on a platform, but because it was icy, it carried my momentum and made me slide off. There's also these falling snow blocks that always scare the hell out of me because I don't know if I'm going to land on it or if I'm going to land on the spikes before they do. And there's also these annoying things. Basically you hit them and make a rainbow bridge for you to walk on for a couple seconds, that disappear after a few seconds have gone by, so you need to catch up to the actual statue itself. Make sure the next rainbow bridge isn't 1 pixel higher than the previous one, or oops, you fell! I also found Chester in this level and he sold me a war horn. A horn that when you blow it kills all enemies within a certain radius, which I imagine will come in handy later in the game. There's also this part of the level where the game shows you 2 enemies before a checkpoint, and in my haste, and because I wouldn't know any better, I killed one. But oops, because I did that, I can't make the jump. And if that wasn't bad enough, the game puts a checkpoint almost as if to taunt you. I already don't like this stage, but that was really annoying. Get through enough of that hell and you're on to Polar Knight himself, and I put him down fairly quickly.
You know, for such a tough level, the boss was really easy, and I find that kind of weird.
After this, I ran into the last of the Wandering Travellers, Phantom Striker, created by Stephen Ness. He's a fairly simple boss, shooting lightning everywhere and teleporting around the arena, and I still think it was cool. On to the next stage now, Clockwork Tower, the lair of Tinker Knight. And its gimmick is these conveyor belts, and after playing Sonic CD and dealing with its conveyor belts, I wasn't looking forward to this one. But it turns out this level is actually fine. There's also these rotating platforms that you can move through, but they didn't cause me much trouble, so I won't mention them any further. On to Tinker Knight himself, and this fight is actually really funny. You see, it starts with him just running around throwing wrenches and occasionally falling on his fucking face, and that's it. But after you've beat him, and before you can question whether that was it or not, boom! Giant mech that shoots small missiles that damage you and bigger ones that you can use as platforms to hit his teeny tiny head up there, whilst he also shoots these exploding gear things that you have to bounce off of to beat him. And it is tense. I barely got through it. I mean, look at this! I was 1 hit away from dying and having to do that all over again.
That was a fun level, and directly on to the next one, the Flying Machine, the lair of Propeller Knight.
The main mechanic of this level are these propellers that send air out in different directions that affect your movement. There's also these portions of the level that have wind that makes the platforming more of a challenge. There's also a mini-boss against these guys in an airship, but it's not too tough. This area that uses wind to push you up and down in between spikes on the ceiling and a bottomless pit on the floor can be tricky too, but if you follow the floating blocks with gems on them, you should be fine. On to the final member of the Order of No Quarter now, Propeller Knight himself, and he was a complete pushover. Although the part where he starts shooting cannonballs and making the arena more dangerous could catch a lot of people off guard. After this we get another dream sequence of catching Shield Knight, and luckily I've gotten pretty good at these, so it wasn't a big deal. And now we've finally unlocked the last area of the map, the Tower of Fate. But before I headed there, I went back to the village to upgrade my health and magic to the max so I was well prepared.
And here we are at one of the last levels of the game, the entrance to the Tower of Fate. And this level is so cool, because it takes everything you've dealt with up until this point and throws it at you all at once.
There's the magic book, the lava cauldrons, and Griffith even makes a return from King Knight stage, the lava droplets and the jumping fish from Mole Knight stage, the barrels that shoot you up from Plague Knight stage, and not being able to see mechanic from the Spectre Knight stage. All of this to lead up to our final encounter with Black Knight.
That's not even his name!
He's been powered up by the Enchantress and is more powerful now, and has new moves like teleporting around, sprouting wings and flying around, and summoning fucking meteors, holy shit! It's a really fun fight, and afterwards we set aside our differences and move on to the next level, the Ascent.
Now this level is actually pretty weak compared to the last one.
You see, where the first level had you go up against some of the better obstacles from each level in this game, this one puts you up against some of the worst. There's the underwater mechanics from Treasure Knight stage, the lava floors from Mole Knight stage, the rainbow bath bridge from Polar Knight stage, the timed on and off flames from Plague Knight stage, and the conveyor belts from Tinker Knight stage. But to make up for that, it's a pretty short level, so you don't have to play it for too long. But why is the level so short, I hear you ask? Well, that's because it ends with a boss rush, where you have to fight all of the Order of No Quarter one after the other, letting you heal after you've beaten one.
This level might suck, but this one part here saves it.
Oh, and get this, every time you die, the order of which knights you fight randomizes to make it trickier, so you have to be on your toes the entire time, because you don't know who you're going to be fighting next. Overall, an okay stage saved by the amazing boss rush.
This is it, the final level of the game, and I am proud to say that it's one of the weakest, unfortunately.
It starts with you needing to avoid these floating blocks while platforming above a lava floor, which can be really annoying. Then you have to platform over gaps onto blocks that you can't see yet, which can be really annoying because you can't tell if you're jumping high or far enough to make it. And did I mention that if you die on this blatant guesswork, you have to start all the way over from the beginning again and have to do everything you just did all over again? This isn't challenging, it's just annoying. I want to fight the final boss, so let me fight the final boss. Once you manage to get through that hellhole, you're finally onto the Enchantress herself. She does the usual thing of flying around and shooting projectiles that you can hit back to her to damage her, but she can also destroy the very platform that you're standing on, so you have to be careful. But she can rebuild it, so you don't have to worry for too long. Get through enough of that and you've won, and she explodes, revealing that the Enchantress was actually Shield Knight all along, and we have to catch her. But luckily we trained for this and we save her. But before we can leave, the amulet that was controlling Shield Knight takes form as the Remnant of Fate and the final battle commences. This fight is fairly simple. All she does is shoot projectiles at you and occasionally destroy the platforms you're on for a short while Shield Knight jumps up and allows you to use her for a jump attack. After enough of that, we finally put an end to her. As we're about to make our leave, Shovel Knight is attacked by the Remnant and Black Knight has to save us, while Shield Knight stays back to fend her off, as the game cuts away, not showing us whether she survives or not. Credits roll.
Man, that was a real downer of an ending. I mean, I know they've got to set up a sequel somehow, right? But I really wanted to see a happy ending for Shovel Knight and Shield Knight. Guess that isn't happening.
Oh wait, there's a scene after the credits. She lives! Yes!
And that's Shovel Knight, a really fun game that I would recommend to anyone, and I didn't even look at the DLC, so I've got more to look forward to. And that's it. We're done. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how to end this video.